Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It's Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. I'm Andrew Hanson, back for another week of Pga Dfs, coming off a really fun event last weekend at the WM Phoenix Open. There were multiple holes in one on the weekend, birdies and eagles, star-studded leaderboard, a lot of fun. We had another winning week on DraftKings. We're 4-1 now with our cash lineup on DraftKings. So we're going to see if we can keep it going this week with the Genesis Invitational at the famed Riviera Country Club in Southern California as we finish up the West Coast swing. And man, what a group of entrants we have here. Limited field of only 120 players and all top 10 players. The top 10 ranked players in the world will be there competing. So we're going to really have to battle here to try to make the most of it as we build our lineups, but we're going to have a lot of familiar names to choose from. It is a par 71 playing to 7,322 yards this week. And I'll hit two stats this week. One of them is going to be strokes gained tee to green. That really helped us last week. I'm also going to talk about par 4 scoring on holes between 450 and 500 yards, as there are 6 of them on this course. Some memorable holes, too. We've got that drivable par 4 10th. That's a part of the playoff when we have that, including last year when Max Homa defeated Tony Finau. Then you've got that part, the 18th hole stretching up to the clubhouse with the amphitheater around the green. There have been multiple majors played at this course, and I'm sure most of our viewers here and listeners are familiar with the course. So let's get after it here. We're going to talk about some of the winners and runners up. Then we'll get into some of the stats. And I have some interest in these winners, more so than the runners up. Last year, as I mentioned, it was Max Homa. Man, what an emotional victory it was for him, talking about having gone to the course as a spectator, as a baby, and then winning on the course. So he's 8,300 on DraftKings, coming in with decent form. He tied for 14th last weekend at the Waste Management, the WM, as it were. Adam Scott won it 2 years ago. He tied for 38th last week at the WM. Last year, we did not have fans. In 20, we did. So we'll be back to fans this year. Adam Scott's a nice price as well. Could be a strong pivot off of Homa, $100 cheaper on DraftKings. But the winner back in 18 is the guy I'm most interested in here, Bubba Watson. He actually won it in 18, 16, and 14. And since this is another even year, 22, maybe he'll knock it out again. But played him last week at the WM, and he came through with a top 20. Really strong ball striking around the greens. He wasn't quite as strong, but at 8,500 on DraftKings, I really like his price. And then Dustin Johnson won it back in 17. And he's more expensive here. He's 10,200 on DraftKings, but I'm interested in him. I like the way he's trending. On the U.S. soil, he finished tied for 25th at the Farmers, and then he went overseas, finished tied for 8th at the Saudi International. So I think he's trending up. Ball striking stats were really good at the Farmers. So DJ looking to find that form on this course that he's hit so many times. He also was runner-up twice in 15 and 14. And then James Hahn, here's a potential value play. Talked about him before over the course of our shows here. He's 6,500 on DraftKings. And how about the last 3 years here? He's finished in the top 15. So he just loves this course. Not at the top of his game right now. He did miss the cut last week. But remember, he had COVID the week before that. So let's give him a pass on missing the cut in Phoenix. And let's see if the return to this course will allow him to make the cut. If so, great opportunity at 6,500. And again, it's a little easier this week to make the cut because there's only 120 players. So let's see if we can get all 6 of our guys through. That's it for the recent winners going back 10 years for those who are going to play again this week. And then looking at the runners up, as I mentioned, not as interested in them. Tony Finau lost in that playoff last year. He's missed the cut the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to fade him. Kuchar, same thing. He's 6,800, a lot better value, but he's also missed the cut in his last 2 events, so I'll probably fade him this week. Justin Thomas was the runner-up in 19, 10,700, and I do like his trend as well, but he's more expensive than DJ. It looked pretty good in Phoenix. Really strong weekend, finished tied for 8th. He's going to put it together here soon and get a victory. Kevin Na, 7,600. He was runner-up to Bubba in 18. He finished tied for 20th at the Sony in his last event, but he's been off for about a month. So, that's the question there. The rest versus, recent finishes and the strong course history. But again, good price for him and always seems to do well on the West Coast. Finau was the runner-up that year as well. Thomas Peters was the runner-up in 17. He's interesting to me, 7,400 on DraftKings, and he's been playing overseas lately. He has a win and a tie for 12th in his last 2 starts. Jason Kokrak was the runner-up in 16, along with Adam Scott, and Kokrak is 7,700. Great season last year, but just hasn't quite been doing it here in 2022. He finished tied for 45th at that Saudi International. So I'll probably wait another week on Kokrak. Paul Casey was the runner-up along with DJ in 15. He's 7,600. Good price for Paul Casey. And we do see another example like last week where we've got some really good players in the $7,000 and $8,000 range. And so I am going to probably build that type of lineup on DraftKings, a little bit more of a balanced lineup. He's also been playing overseas. Last 2 events, tied for 12th, tied for 24th. And then finally, the runner-up 10 years ago was Keegan Bradley, 7,200. And he was in some lineups for me last week, made the cut, finished tied for 26th. So Keegan certainly playable at 7,200. All right, let's go to some statistics here. Last week, I spent a lot of time on the show talking about strokes gained tee to green. And we looked at the best players on tour in that stat in 2021, that season, and then the current season. And it was really helpful. The out of the guys from 2020 to 21 in the top 20 strokes gained tee to green, I went through all of them last week in the top 20, and 9 of the 12 who were playing made the cut, and 6 of those 12 players finished in the top 10. So if you focused on that group and got as many of them into your lineup as you could, I hope that you were successful. And the reason we pulled that stat last week was because the 5 of the last 6 winners at the WN Phoenix Open had been first or second in that category. And here at the Genesis Invitational, the last 2 winners have been in the top 3 in that category for the week. So I'm zeroed in on that stat again. And following up on those guys from 20 to 21 in that top 20, Rahm, he finished top 10. He's really expensive, though, this week, 11-3. Faded him last week, and it worked out because that's a little too much to pay for a 10th spot overall. So I'm going to fade him again because of so many options that we have here who are cheaper and still really strong bets to make the top 10, in my opinion. Justin Thomas was next. He finished 8th, of course. More interested in him. He's cheaper. Cantlay, 11,000. Man, he's just owning the top 10 lately, losing the playoff. So, again, just like last week, wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. I'd be surprised if he's outside the top 20. So he's on the borderline for me. Next was Keegan Bradley, who, as I mentioned, finished second here 10 years ago. Hovland was the one who missed the cut. First time in quite a while for him, and the short game got him. And so I'm gonna fade him again this week. I'd rather go with the next guy on the list, Koepka, 9,000. I did fade him last week, but he played awesome. He finished tied for 3rd, put it together with his ball striking. You heard the quote where he was embarrassed about being outside the top 20 in the world ranking. Well, it seems like he's on a mission to get back towards the top where he belongs. And at 9,000, he can outplay the guys that are at 11,000 easily when he's in top form. So I like Koepka a lot this week. Corey Connors, how about this? He's 7,300 this week on DraftKings, and he's been a little bit down lately in performance, but he did make the cut last week, tied for 38th. So the 7,300 for Corey Connors is a price tag that's tough to ignore on a course like this. Berger missed the cut last week and is out again this week, so we don't have to worry about him. Hideki was good for us. He was locked in, finished tied for 8th. He's 9,300. Good price. Okay, course history here, not quite as strong as in Phoenix, so I probably won't get as many shares of Hideki this week. Tony Finau, again, we've talked about. He missed the cut last week. And then Xander and Russell Henley. Xander also tied for 3rd, 9,900 this week, so some savings over some of the other stars. And his ball striking was phenomenal. He was just all over the greens in regulation, and it was just birdies and pars all week, it seemed, for Xander. So he's in a really hot stretch, trending up, certainly playable. And then Henley, 7,900. Probably won't have as much of him this week as last. All right, let's turn to the current calendar season, 21 to 22, and look at this stat again because it's changed a lot since last week. And it did help us with our lineups last week as the guys who were in the top 20 heading into last week, 10 of those 13 made the cut, and 4 of them were in the top 10. So let's see what the current rankings are. It has shuffled a bit. Now at the top, we have Will Zalatoris. Interesting profile for him because he finished second at the Farmers with a chance to win, and then he had COVID, so he's been out. But he was top 20 here last year. So how is he feeling after COVID? Is he 100%? A bit of a dice roll, I think. So probably won't have him in the cash lineup. John Rahm is next. He's up to second in tee to green this year. Luke List is third after that win at the Farmers. He made the cut, but 53rd last week. So probably won't get to him this week. Then we have Sungjae Im, who hasn't played since a tied for 6th at the Farmers, 8,600. Another guy in that price range where I think it makes a lot of sense to roster him and try to make sure you get 6 guys through the cut. Justin Thomas again. These names they keep showing up for a reason. Then Matt Fitzpatrick, who's 8,100. I'm recording this Wednesday afternoon. Apparently, he's dealing with a stomach bug, and he did not participate in the Pro-Am today. And this one is important news for me because he's been playing great. His last 2 events, tied for 6th and tied for 10th. And in this event, he's played it twice. 7 of his 8 rounds have been under par, tied for 5th last year. Good price at 8,100. So I'm going to be following that news tonight, see if there's any updates and see if he's ready to go for tomorrow before I make the final roster decisions for myself and for our members. We will have the coach's clipboard tonight. I'll put that together for DraftKings. So jump in with us if you're not a member yet. DFSCoachTalk.com. Get that clipboard tonight. And then full lineups on FanDuel and Yahoo. Cash lineups and GPP lineups so you can plug and play. So go to the website, DFSCoachTalk.com. Sign up, and we'll get you in there tonight. Whatever membership you get, you'll get all of our sports. So you get the basketball lineups 7 days a week as well. All right, let's continue through. How about Ryan Palmer? Okay, really, really good price for him as well, 7,000 on DraftKings, but he shot at 81 at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Didn't make that final round on Sunday, so I'm going to wait and see with him and see if he gets back in form. 81 for a lot of us amateurs is a pretty solid day, but for these pros, that's a wake-up call. So we'll see about him. Russell Henley, again, great tee to green. He's on this list again. Colin Morikawa, haven't talked about him in a bit. He's been playing overseas. He finished tied for 18th in Dubai in his last event. And apparently he has a new driver in the bag. And he said he made a tweak on it overseas, and now he feels really good about it. But he doesn't have tremendous course history here. So he's one of the high-priced guys I'm going to fade this week. Don't feel great about it because he is so amazing, especially approaching the green. But I plan to fade him this week. Hideki, top 20 in this stat again, just like last year. Sam Burns, here's another guy who is a bit of a dichotomy. He finished third in this event last year, but in his last two events coming into it this year, he's missed the cut. So another guy that I'd rather just fade at 8,700 and play somebody near him who's in better form. Xander Schauffele again on this list. Patrick Cantlay in the top 20. Taylor Gooch, 8,000. Great course history here. Tied for 20th, tied for 10th, and tied for 12th. The only thing I don't like about him is that he had a couple of hiccups in his final round in the WM, and he was ended up shooting a 75 that pushed him down the leaderboard to 26th. So there's the hesitation there. Tom Hoge followed up his win with a tie for 14th at the WM. He's made the cut here a couple times. He's on the borderline for me at 7,500. Keegan Bradley's top 20 in tee to green this year. And then Cameron Smith, good guy to end on with this stat. 9,100. I like that price a lot for him. Remember last year he finished fourth here. He also has a tie for sixth in this event. His last event over at the Saudi International, he was tied for fourth. And a guy with this much, power for, pushing up the leaderboard can win anytime he steps out there, can string birdies together, can play tough courses like this. I like the price of 9,100 quite a bit. All right, how about one more stat before we wrap up? And that's par 4 scoring on holes that are between 450 and 500 yards. As I mentioned, there is a handful of them here on this course. Morikawa at the top of the list. And Will Zalatoris, we've talked about them. Probably going to fade them this week. Cameron Smith, though, is next on that list, so that's reassuring and kind of explains why he's done so well in this event. Kuchar is on that list as well. This is from the current season, by the way. And then Alex Noren, here's somebody who we haven't talked about yet in this show. He's 7,500 on DraftKings this week. Played really well in Phoenix, tied for sixth. So there's a solid option. And then another potential value play, Cameron Young, is great on these long par fours. 6,700 this week on DraftKings. And recently he's tied for 20th and tied for 26th. And then we've got Xander on this list. Maverick McNeely, who finished tied for 33rd at Pebble. And then he took a week off. And he also missed the cut here last year. So some mixed results. Last guy in the top 20 of this stat, Adam Schenk. And how about his recent trend? He had a 62 in the Farmers in that second round. He had a putt that lipped out for 61. And how did he follow up his 62 with a 75 and a 78? And then his next event, he missed the cut with an 81 and a 75. Just amazing that these guys can shoot a 62 and an 81. That's golf for you, but he's 6,100, so pure GPP option. I don't think I'll get there this week. And I want to finish the show with one of my favorites, Francesco Molinari. He can just get it done on courses like this where it's not a birdie fest. By the way, in recent years, the winning scores have been 12 to 14 under, maybe 15 under. The highest has been 17 under. So, we're not looking at a 25 under type week. But Molinari, he's actually a member at this country club now, the Riviera. So, gotta love that. He finished tied for 8th here last year. And in this current season, he's made 3 straight cuts. So 7,000 from Molinari. I should have, or I plan to have a lot of exposure to him this week. So that's it for the preview of the Genesis Invitational. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to the week. We'll see if we can keep the wins rolling. Any questions, reach out to us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can also find me on Twitter at Language Olympic. All right, on behalf of the entire DFS Coach Talk team, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.